pull up this monstrosity of a album or a band and album title here.
It's my favorite part when people try to pronounce it. It's fantastic. That's the whole reason I named it this.
All right. Well, I'm gonna attempt this. So we've got Jason Bieler of Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. Songs for the Apocalypse, January 22nd, 2021. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm a little disappointed you didn't butcher the name, though. I was really counting on you to kind of torque that, but you said it perfectly.
Well, you know, I'm a professional, and that's what we do.
I was going to say, this is clearly way above my my level of fame in terms of the professionalism of this show.
Well, the one thing, you know, you were also known for Saigon Kick, but you were also a big part of the 2018 Rock and Pod Expo, man. You were a hit there.
Oh, man, yeah, it was a blast. It was a good time.
It was good. It was funny. Like, you were the one person that, like, no matter who interviewed you, you always came off really well. And actually, I kind of felt bad that I did not put in for our Jason Bieler interview.
Well, you know, there's only so much of me to go around. So I think this time we'll be able to focus on just each other and not be distracted by the rapid fire verbal jousting that took place at the Rock and Pod.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get to do one in 2021, and hopefully
back. Yeah, it was a good time for sure.
So this new album, you've got a ton of guests on it. It's obviously a solo album, but you know, just kind of walk us through, you know, getting all this together.
Basically, you know, my concept was I was going to call about 20 or 30 of my friends and just see if I can get them to participate in the record. And assuming that just due to the nature of life, touring, other records, other commitments, most of them would say no, or couldn't do it at this time or whatever. But to my delight, everybody said yes, which was fantastic. So I wrote and recorded the record mostly in March, and we were done with everything and mastered by May at some point, I think. So, yeah, but it was just an amazing, I mean, all these guys are heroes of mine. So to get to work with them and have them contribute and to just see their creative wheels spinning was just unbelievable. You know, it was a super rewarding and gratifying process. I keep saying it in most of the interviews I'm doing. It's like, it already feels like the most fun you can have, and that the record's already a success for me because I got to work with all these guys. So who knows what the future brings. And it's really rewarding, obviously, that people are responding positively to the record and all that kind of good stuff. But the best part to me was just getting to work with all these guys. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of great names on this one. And I was going to kind of go through a few of the names. You know, my show being a little bit more in the new metal vein and whatnot. I mean, it's awesome that you have like a guy like Kyle Sanders on here, Clint Lowery, Benji from Skindred. You know, what are your relationships? I'm assuming Benji kind of came from the Bieler Bros record label. What about Kyle and Clint?
Kyle, I met a few years ago. We were both at a music conference in Tampa, and we just super hit it. I mean, he's just a great guy, and obviously a monster bass player. And we wound up doing some jamming with David Ellefson. Had a thing going on at that thing, so we hooked up then and just hung out and just hit it off. And he's just an amazing guy. And Clint I've known forever. You know, I just have so much respect for him. I mean, his solo record's brilliant that just came out, and
it's really good.
Not to mention his career with Seven Dust. I mean, he's just such a, you know, inspiring musical kind of mind as well. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it wasn't a situation where I tried to reach out to people I didn't know just to get them on a record, as much as we were all, to some degree or another. I mean, certain people I've known longer than others, or maybe better. But yeah, I just, you know, hit up people I knew and was looking forward to working with and had a lot of respect for, you know.
What about Ellefson? How did you come across David Ellefson?
I met David. I've known David like in passing for years. And then we wound up doing some stuff. We did some stuff in Nashville together at the Rock and Pod. Before that, we had done some stuff in Tampa. And we just became buds, you know, I mean, closer, I should say, than we were. And yeah, it was such a thrill. Obviously, the guy's got so much going on, so the fact that he took time was amazing. But he's such a great bass player and such a great, even better guy, you know, so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one dude that you know, he does every interview, he does everything. He has coffee and a solo album and a new Megadeth album and movies.
A new book.
And it's just like, Jesus Christ, man, where do you find the time?
Yeah, that guy is the epitome of hustle. He puts Puff Daddy to shame.
So, kind of going back to the solo album, back to March. Now that's kind of when the pandemic kind of started taking over and lockdowns and things like that. So did you find it easier to get some of these people to do something because you knew that they were most likely at home?
I mean, I think it wasn't part of like this master plan, but it definitely helped that people were
you were
around,
behind the pandemic.
Yes,
Everybody,
I was like, I'm going to time my next record in time for some kind of global outbreak of infectious disease that'll work out to my favor. But obviously, it made it everyone had more time and wasn't traveling and touring, and so from the perspective of having access to these guys, it was way more accessible and easy.
And then you've got Todd LaTorre on here, but you get one of the better voices out there in rock music, but you get him on the drums. So,
we've become really good buds over the years, and he's got a new solo record coming out too. That's great. But yeah, I mean, when we talk about music, he's such a drummer. He's so passionate about drums. If you asked him, which I did ask him, what would you do if you had to pick one? I think he would tell you he'd rather be a drummer. And obviously he's a brilliant, brilliant singer, but I think he's so identifiable as that. I thought like he's such a great drummer too, that it would just be great to use him in that capacity, just to have him play on the track. And I think he crushed it.
So having some of the artists over the years from Frontiers on the show, it's kind of a mixed bag of the 80s guys or whatnot. But this album, when it came through, my email, I don't open up a lot of them, but I was like, let's see what Jason's up to. I really love following you on social media. I don't really know you that well from Saigon Kick. I know you from social media. I know you from the Rockin' Pod. I know you from, Bieler Bros records, things like that. So I was like, I was looking at the track listing, saw Benji was on a track, checked it out, and just listening to the album from front to back, it's very adventurous, I think, for Frontiers to have out.
Yeah, when we talked, I mean, Nick there is a great guy, and he started talking to me, and I was like, I knew that if I did it myself on my label, I would always have a reason to not finish it. Do you know what I mean? Like there'd always be that, like, oh, well, I got to do this. And I also thought having a label, it would put me in a position of, artists feeling like, oh, now he's paying attention to his record. And that, and that whole dynamic. So I was like, this could work out perfectly. But I really wanted to stress to them, and I have a lot of respect for what they've achieved and what they've done. It's great. But I wanted to make sure they knew that's not really what I do. And I didn't want them to feel like, what the hell did we get into, when they heard the record. But they've been super supportive. And I think, after having more discussions about it, I mean, they are looking to expand their horizons musically too. I think they'll always be known and do what they do as well. I mean, they're not leaving what their core is, but I think they're making more adventurous choices. So it seemed like a great marriage. And in total transparency, I mean, they really let me do everything I wanted to do. The first note of the record they heard, it was mastered and done.
Oh, wow.
So for me, that worked out great, because I'm not the kind of person that's going to, at this point in my life, I'm just not going to start changing things or doing things differently, or for better or worse. I mean, I'm just, I am what I am. And they were super supportive about that. So it's worked out great so far.
And with your background, having a label, did you go into this with a little bit more understanding of what they needed, and they probably, knew that you knew what to give them and things like that? I mean, was it easy marriage that way?
They've been awesome. I mean, I'm a full-on, fucking nightmare. Before I'd imagine, because, my experience and my career has kind of put me in a lot of places where I know what's behind the curtain. I kind of know what's going on, maybe a little bit more than some artists do, which can make me a real pain in the ass. But we haven't had any situations like that. I mean, they're doing what they do. They've done great so far. The funniest, I think the most rewarding part of it is that the new songs have wound up on all these really kind of new, Spotify playlists, like prog metal and all these things. So that whole base really has no idea about my history or Saigon Kick. And I'm in these lists with like Devin Townsend and Steven Wilson and Lepros. And so there's a whole new wave of people that are coming on board that are, like 20 to 40.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So it's kind of, I'm getting kind of this dual fan base thing happening, which is a dream come true. I didn't want it to just, not a fear of it. I mean, because Saigon Kick has always been kind of a misunderstood band to a certain degree. And we weren't really part of the 80s. Well, we weren't a part of the 80s at all. Our first record came out in 91. But we never really were, accepted or embraced by the hair metal movement. Those bands hated us. And when we first started touring, we were touring with the Ramones, Faith No More, Soundgarden, played with Ozzy and stuff like that. And then the second record came out, and it was no more diverse than the first record. I mean, we had ballads and weird stuff on the first record, but the second record had a ballad that succeeded at the time when music was changing to grunge. And that solidified the fact that no grunge band was ever going to touch us. So we wound up kind of floating in this middle area between those two shifts. So yeah, I mean, it's an interest. It's all starting to, it seems like, strangely enough, everything I've always been a part of musically is starting to make more sense now than it did at the time.
Yeah.
Because people now don't care anymore like they did back then. I mean, now people they'll listen to Rihanna, AC/DC, Meshuggah, Skrillex, like, you know, Taylor Swift, Metallica. I mean, people just want to hear good tunes.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, years back, people were definitely like, you're a metalhead, or you're a punk, or you're a new wave. You never crossed paths with anybody from the other side.
Well, behind closed doors, you listen to all that stuff, but in your public persona, you know, I only listen to Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. You know, I don't listen to, you know, anything else that's on the radio or Oingo Boingo or anything like that.
It's been such a problem for me because I don't keep that stuff secret. If you looked at my playlist, like I literally have Barry Manilow next to Meshuggah.
Yeah.
And I mean, people would put me in an institution, you know. It's
well,
like, I love music.
I hit a random button on iHeartRadio the other day, and it gave me a playlist that was for me. It went Otis Redding to Pantera, and I was like, all right, iHeartRadio, you got me.
Now that's a badge of honor. That's great.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, that's, you know, whether it's the Sam Cooke, Motown, I just like great music and great musicians. So, I mean, there's obviously certain genres maybe I tend to lean to more or look to more, but whether it's Miles Davis or, you know, country stuff, some of the country stuff, I mean, I'm not a massive country, but if it's great, I'm in. You know, I use that quote, like, there's only two types of music, good and the other kind.
Well, I like to go with, there's two types, you know, country and Western, but you know.
Right. Yeah, right, exactly.
You know, it's funny, you kind of talking about that, and you know, the grunge kind of killing the whole hair metal movement and things like that. But you go back now and you read stories about Alice in Chains being hugely influenced by, you know, all these glam metal bands, but their publicists telling them not to talk about Saigon Kick. You know, they like, don't talk about them. You can talk about these three bands, but not these. And now, you know, you go back and all those dudes and Nirvana and everything else, we're totally listening to, you know, Love Will Find a Way.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Love Will Find a Way.
I think all those guys, you know, I mean, they were just a little smarter than we were. I mean, Alice in Chains was a glam band, full on spandex and otherwise, and so was Pantera. Oh, and you know, they were smart enough to say, you know something, music's about to change, and we should get heavier and do this at the right time. We were, you know, a day late and a dollar short. You know, we did what we were doing and just kind of stayed the course. But yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're lucky enough to have a career that lasts long enough, you see tons of things happen in music where it's just, you know, some days you're going to be the shit and everyone's going to love you. And then, you know, it doesn't seem to me that long ago, Limp Bizkit was the biggest band in the world and everybody loved them. And, you know, and now obviously there's a massive backlash. And what will happen is in the coming years, people will go back and go like, were those songs really great or were they not? And that's why you look at Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Aerosmith, the Chili Peppers. I mean, every band has had this massive, you know, peak and then kind of gone to a place where they weren't so cool. And the songs will ultimately carry you through. If you're the real deal and the songs are great, you know, and your real passion is about making music, not, you know, being recognized in the mall, then hopefully, you know, you stay the course and things roll back around your way.
Well, I've asked this of a few bands that kind of had the one major hit, and obviously your major hit, Love Is on the Way, obviously power ballad, things like that, but it's not very representative of the band. And I went back and listened to a little bit of The Lizard today, and I was hearing Jane's Addiction type stuff, and even you know, we talked about Pantera. There was some groovy stuff on there, you know, heavy groovy stuff on there too. So, you know, looking back on it, is it a blessing or a curse? You know, is obviously the financially good, but image bad maybe.
I've always been blissfully ignorant to that kind of. I mean, I'm glad people like the ballad. It's a nice thing to have a hit record. Had we said, let's write a ballad so we can have a hit, then I think I'd be having these weird feelings about it. I mean, we had a ballad on the first record. We've had ballads after that. I like ballads. I think my music's always been diverse. I think even going to this record, while I think it's, it's more of a now record, but I think it's a really diverse record. And that's the way I make things. And that's the way I hear music. And that's the way I create stuff. So it's never a curse when a lot of people like what you did. I mean, and you can't really go back and redraw it up and say like, well, it'd be so much cooler if metal fans dug us because we were super cool. I mean, obviously you weren't. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not the way it works. I mean, we were who we were, and we're lucky that a lot of people got it and dig it and still do. But I mean, to kind of like try to retro engineer or go back and, not feel good about it to me is like, there's a billion bands that work construction day jobs that never get the shot, that are talented, that are good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so I think it's almost an insult to anybody who's ever sat down and said, what I'd like to do is make music and someday play shows and be successful, to go like, yeah, it's total bullshit, man. We sold 1 million records because of a ballad. It's like, what?
Right. Yeah, no, it's funny. You talking about that too. Like, I know so many musicians that are probably, more amazing than everybody on TV that just either didn't care enough to pursue it, or just didn't get that big break. There's the guy down there changing your tire at the tire place, probably a better guitar player than a lot of people on stage right now.
Yeah, man. Look, as I love to think of myself as uniquely talented, but there is a large degree of right place, right time. The harder you work, the luckier you do get. But you can't deny the fact that there's a lot of talented people that just, for whatever reason, didn't get lucky. And the combination. I mean, I think I look at myself personally as like, my goal in life is to make music and be creative. So that's what makes me happy. When it goes great, it's obviously really nice, and it's super great to hear people that dig in a record or like a track does well or all that. It's awesome. But if I was working construction, I would have still made this type of record. Maybe I wouldn't have had the friends contribute unless they all happened to be out of work and working at the same place I was working. But I would have made the record. I'd still be making music. So that's what always drives me. I think if you're driven by success of streams or YouTube hits or hit records or whatever that is, you can be really easily thrown off course. That's a different goal. I look at that as like, that's always nice. It's icing on the cake. But if this record comes out and sells 1 copy, I'm going to make another record.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it sells 1 million copies, outstanding. I mean, I'm not saying that's not even better, but it doesn't impact the way I go about loving music. And I've been super lucky. I mean, I've been a professional musician without a job, a regular job, since I'm 18 years old. So as far as I'm concerned, to complain about anything is pretty much looking a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, you don't get much luckier. I mean, you can always reference Zeppelin and the Beatles and U2, and obviously they have a stratosphere of success that I've not achieved. But personally, I mean, I have a deep appreciation for the fact that people still support what I do, and it's all good as far as I'm concerned.
Can we talk a little bit about Bieler Brothers? Jesus Christ, Bieler Bros, the record label itself. What made you want to put out a label? And then you had so many great bands, or is the label still going? I mean, I think we kind of referenced.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't signed a ton of stuff recently, and the whole thing came about by discovering bands, wanting to help them with whatever career advice or experiences I had, and being so moved by what they do that I just wanted to be a part of it. I mean, when I first saw NonPoint, I was blown away by the energy and what they were doing, and thought, if I could help facilitate this or get more people into it or more people to hear it, it was a calling to me. And I felt the same way about Skindred. Like, oh my God, like how can people not be aware of this? And you can just go right down the line. Carnival, Silent Film, Fiction Plane, Unkla, all these bands. It was such a SiKth. These are bands that when I heard what they did, I was just like, my mission became try to spread it and get it in as many places as possible so people could realize what's going on. And, you know, I look back even to something like SiKth. I think they changed metal as much probably as maybe only Meshuggah changed it more. I mean, you know, they really are the reason. And I think these bands will say that, you know, Periphery and Animals as Leaders, you know, they all came from that SiKth. Those first SiKth records is what really were very influential in what now is modern metal. So I couldn't be more proud and blown away, and just like a fan. I mean, when I hear something that's great, I mean, I'm like, I want to be a part. If I have to lift amps, if I have to, you know, carry luggage, I mean, I just want to be a part of it. You know, I'm always a fan of things that are great.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. That when that SiKth stuff started coming out, I had a friend of mine that was showing it to me, and our minds were just absolutely blown. You know, we were already listening to Meshuggah and stuff like that, but they were doing something on a totally different level. Yeah,
I mean, such brilliant musicians, and you know, ahead of their time. I mean, but just so amazing to watch that record be made and see their brains at work was just something else, man.
And the same with Skindred too. When Skindred played a festival here a few years ago, and they were probably like the unsung heroes of the day. You know, great live band. Benji's a great singer. Just a great band overall, and not enough people in America love Skindred as much as they do overseas.
It's just I don't understand it. You know, I mean, to me, and I'm not saying this, I mean, there are classic, amazing metal singers. You know, Ronnie James Dio, you know, you just got on the line of those guys, David Coverdale, whatever. I mean, Benji's in that top 10 to me. I mean, he's that phenomenal of a singer. And not to mention, in his own warped, weird way, this kind of carnival-esque David Lee Roth, dance hall, voodoo, you know, he's got all these unbelievably unique things. And, you know, they're obviously massive in Europe, but no matter how big they get, I always feel like they should be 10 times bigger.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're just that good.
A friend of the show, you know, Rob Rivera comes on often, and we talk a lot. A friend of mine now, but he's kind of told the story a little bit about you, I guess, seeing NonPoint at a festival and kind of wanting to get involved in NonPoint. So just kind of tell that story maybe from your angle.
Yeah, we were playing a radio festival in Florida. I was playing in a band called Super Transatlantic. That was me and Pat Badger from Extreme, and we had just done some stuff for the American Pie soundtrack, and we were standing backstage, and all of a sudden this amazing like rumble and vibration took over, like where I could just feel like like I can only imagine it's what like when a herd of buffalo were going across the plains, like something was happening. So I was like, what the hell's going on? And I kind of got to the side of the stage or whatever, and I just saw this band that was just destroying the place. And there was a couple thousand people in front of the stage, it was just such a powerful thing that they do. And like I told you before, man, I was like, these guys, how this is not 10 times bigger than it is, and how the entire country, and if not world, doesn't know about it is I just felt like I'm watching a crime be committed by this not being bigger. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously their career speaks for itself and their achievements speak for themselves, but super proud to have played a small role in, you know, putting them on the path. And we did a lot of great stuff together, and, you know, they continue to do great stuff. So, yeah, this year's the 20th anniversary of Statement. So that's crazy that it's already been 20 years for them. And I'm only 26, so I don't know how it all adds up. It's just weird. Baby Jason Bieler out there just jamming. You know. So once again, just kind of going into the, you know, not wanting to put this out on your own label, dealing with Nick over there. Nick is a great dude at Frontier. Is probably one of my, I could have him on the podcast every week too. And he would never tell the same story twice, but you know, it seems like a good marriage. And I seem like, you know, I feel like, you know what you're doing, you know, when you go to turn in a record for them. Yeah. I mean, Nick's, like you said, he's a real musicologist. You know, his belief in me and helping, you know, pull this together was just really super cool. I mean, I'm hoping it's a positive relationship and they feel that way as well. So far, everything's going amazing. So I couldn't speak highly enough. Like, I know it's kind of a good thing or a cliche rock and roll thing to start complaining about everybody and, you know, this and that and the other thing. And I don't like to tempt fate, but at this point, man, I mean, everything seems to be firing at all cylinders. The reception of the record so far has been just unbelievable as far as I'm concerned, and I'm super grateful for that. And I'm just enjoying the hell out of the ride. If you would have told me that my career at this point, I'd be releasing a record with all my friends and it'd be developing a whole new fan base and like all this would be coming around again, I would have thought you were, wicked on drugs. But it seems to be going right. So, I'm just enjoying it.
You seem to have taken to social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. You seem to have taken to it and really embraced it, and you seem to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's the only reason to be on social media is to be absurd and do strange things. And really, I've been, again, it goes to this weird cultivated crowd and friends and fans of what I do. They're all as warped as I am. So someone who doesn't understand the culture kind of comes into that environment of my social media and they're like, what the fuck is going on? It makes everybody's comments are insane and bizarre and Python-esque, and we're all pulling from this same sense of humor. So, and so far as it grows, it's been really cool. I haven't had like this yet. I'm sure it's coming, but I haven't had these assholes come in and try to everybody's like, we do Q&As all the time live, and people are just asking these fantastically insane questions. And everybody seems to get it. So it's I don't see any purpose in social media other than just trying to make myself laugh with something super obscure, and that makes no sense.
Yeah, I've noticed you're you do your AMAs and they'll just blow up. You'll ask, hey, I've got 20 minutes while I wait for my cheeseburger. Ask away, and just be like boom, 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 boom with questions, and it just seems like people are so I guess involved in what you do. It's a hard thing to do, honestly, on social media, is to get that much interaction. And it seems like every time you turn around, you're just comments and questions and everything else just flying through the air, I guess.
Well, the beauty of it is I think that people have grown to the point where it's their moment. So the question is really the funnier part of the dialogue. Yeah. So I think people are kind of conditioned to I have to ask the most insane question, or I want to make Jason laugh, and I'm trying to make them laugh by coming back with some kind of bizarre reference. So if you're looking to learn anything by participating in my social media, you're probably sorely, you've definitely Googled the wrong place. But if you're into that kind of, sense of humor where, I've read some of the Q&As back and I'm like, oh my God, we literally said nothing of value in 200 questions and answers. There's nothing that makes any sense. And then I know I've accomplished a great thing.
So where are you at on your lunches on the way subway, rally? I was listening to an interview earlier from the Rockin' Pod, and you were already back then, campaigning for this. So DoorDash or Grubhub, someone's got to get lunches on the way synced, because I have a house staff, I have butlers and pilots and people that need to get paid, and a Jimmy John's sponsorship at this point, or Subway, would really, I think, it's really pushed me over the top. Where is the craziest sync you've heard that song added to? Is it in movie trailers?
I don't think it's ever been in a movie, to be honest with you,
or a commercial or anything other than power ballads.
It was just big enough that no one knows it.
Man,
it doesn't come to mind. It's big. It's more of the obscure trivia question from that era than, it was really the last ballad of that era. So it killed hair metal. I am responsible for the murder of an entire genre, because it was the last one that actually worked. Yeah, but it's never been in a movie.
Huh. Well, we definitely need to get on that. So
yeah, I'm holding you personally responsible.
Ellefson Films, get this into a movie. There we go. There's your in right there. So Jason Bieler murdered, hair metal, not grunge.
Absolutely. But if had I not murdered hair metal, grunge wouldn't have happened. So I am responsible for grunge.
Wow.
And I killed hair metal.
That's a lot. That should be on your Wikipedia.
I don't like to toot my own horn, but I guess that's what promotion's about, right?
That is right. Speaking of promotion, what are you planning on? I know you were doing the acoustic shows with Jeff Scott Soto, things like that. So Is there any plans to get this out once the vaccine and all this stuff happens?
As soon as everybody can be safe, yeah. Fortunately, there's been a ton of interest and requests, and my standpoint has been like, I just want people to be safe. As soon as crowds and people can gather and we can do this the right way, I'm looking forward to touring it all over the place, all over the world. So that's definitely part of it. Hopefully that's late summer, fall, but as soon as it's safe is my big thing. I don't want to be responsible for pulling any amount of people into a place when it's just not safe. I mean, to me, it's just not worth it. Although I do think I'm delightful, I don't think I'm worth risking anybody's life.
Yeah, there have been some shows that I'm like, you're really going to risk, getting it, even if you might survive. Are you going to risk getting COVID to go see, a cover band or something?
It's just, I mean, look, everybody can do whatever they want to do. My theory is, is try not to kill anybody. That's my whole marketing plan.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, and how are we doing on chock full of bangers as a hashtag? Is that trending yet?
Depends on what country. It's really a country basis. So.
All right, man. You got anything else going on that we need to talk about, or?
No, man. I'm just looking. We're talking about doing maybe some kind of a big live stream event show in maybe February or March potentially, depending if that can be done safely and get all the musicians together and do something really cool in a kind of epic setup. But that's not confirmed yet. And other than that, man, I just hope everybody has a great holiday, stay safe, and great new year, and get this piece of shit 2020 behind us as quickly as possible so we can all get together and go like, wasn't that strange?
Maybe instead of lunch is on the way, maybe we could do like the vaccine is on the way.
Vaccine is, hey, I'm easy, man. It doesn't, whatever Moderna is on the way. I mean, they can pick whatever.
The Pfizer's probably got a bit deeper pockets than Subway, so.
I'm easy to find if anybody needs me.
All right, Jason Bieler. And once again, let's see here. I had it up and now I've lost it. Actually, it's at the bottom of the screen. Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. Songs for the Apocalypse. January 22nd, 2021 on Frontiers Records. Jason Bieler, thanks for taking the time today, man.
Hey, man, I super appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely.